Rev up your engines!
Donkey Ox says, good morning, Scotty. What's a good car for a teen other than a Toyota? If you want a solid tank, since they're teens and you don't want them to whack themselves into a tree and die, get them a grandpa car. Get them a Crown Victoria or the Mercury Grand Marquis, the grandpa and grandma cars of the world. They're solid frames. They're solid vehicles. And they can last a really long time. There's nothing wrong with getting a vehicle like that. They are solid built. You know, if you want to get an old solid frame car with a V8 engine, they'll be real safe inside as long as they buckle up. You know, that might not be a bad idea, and you get a decent price on those things. I wouldn't go for other smaller American cars. They don't make small cars good, but they still made those big old ones pretty good. And there's lots of them out there for sale. You might think about doing that. WinRx says, I'm looking at used SUVs. Narrowed it down to an older RX 350 or a Highlander 2010 or a newer CX-5 Mazda 2017-18. Budget's around 20 grand. Love to hear your opinion. Well, actually, you made some decent choices there. It really depends on what you want. The RX are going to be more luxurious, but they're going to get worse gas mileage. The Highlanders, 2010 to 13, as long as you don't buy a hybrid version, they can last virtually forever. And a CX-5, a new one, Toyota's got more deals going with Mazda, and they're also excellent vehicles. You know, my advice would be, I say look at a Highlander and a Mazda, drive some. Go to used car lots where you can find them. See which one you like better and buy that, because they're all excellent choices. You made some wise decisions here. Just road test them, see which one you like, because the newer Mazda CX-5s are excellent. The Highlanders, as long as they're not hybrids, are excellent. So you made some really good choices, but road test them and see what you like, because they're all good choices. Andrew Colley says, good morning. I have a P0171 code on my F-150 2001 with 178,000 miles. Where should I look first? That means it's running too lean. First, check for vacuum leaks. I got a video finding engine vacuum leaks with a cigar. You might watch that. You don't have to use a cigar. Anything that makes smoke, you can put smoke in the system. That'll make them run lean. Now, also, if the mass airflow sensor is worn or dirty, you might take the mass airflow sensor off. I have a whole video on that. Make your car run better with a little spray cleaner. And you can clean the mass airflow sensor. If it has dirt on it, that can do that too. If it gets further than that, if you have a weak fuel pump, you can pressure test it. Not enough fuel pressure, it'll run lean because it can't pump enough fuel. So you want to check that first. But first, check for vacuum leaks. That's the most common. Rubber hoses fall off, intake manifolds. When it's idling, listen close. You hear any sucking sound, you know there's a vacuum leak somewhere. Then find where it is and fix it. Elder Herman Jr. says, why don't turbo diesel engines have the head gasket problems gas turbo engines have? Very good question. There's a very good answer. Diesel engines fire by just pure compression. They don't have a spark to fire the ignition. So they have much higher compression. So they have to be built much stronger. Now, to prove my point, decades ago, GM decided we're going to make V8 diesel engines for our cars. And they took a regular 350 V8 and turned it into a diesel engine. But the basis was still that same old gasoline engine. There are piles of junk and they broke because they were a gasoline engine converted to a diesel and not built strong enough. The diesel engines are really strongly overbuilt. That's why if you really have a diesel engine that's really old and it needs rebuilding, it costs a fortune to do correctly. They cost more money to make. They way more, so that's why they go gasoline. Gasoline have more power, but gasoline engines are cheaper to manufacture too. The gasoline engines aren't made for all that power and turbo. It can blow the head gaskets. The diesels are just stronger built. That's just how it goes. That's why they don't really blow them. And they've had turbos and diesel engines. They had to because they didn't have enough power to really take off without a turbo. If you ever get the chance, get in a Mercedes-Benz 300D, an old one from the 80s. Turds can barely go down the road from 0 to 60. But you get a 300 Turbo D, it's not that bad because it's got a diesel with the turbo on it. But they're good engines. The extra pressure doesn't hurt them like a gasoline engine that can't take it. Philip Lewis says, what do you think of a Kia Stinger GT? You know, they're fun to drive and they're really cute looking little cars. Got customers with them and I love driving them around. But I'd never buy one because they do not last like Hondas and Toyotas. They have had engine problems throughout history and they continue to have engine problems throughout history. I see the Genesis engines wear out out too soon. They just don't have the quality control that Honda and Toyota have. They never have, and I don't think they ever will. If you want a fast, cute little car, go ahead and get one. But don't buy a used one high mileage, because you'll probably regret it when the engine blows up, or the transmission, or perhaps both. I've seen it all happen. Rashid says, I'm planning to start working on my own car. Is a 2015 Jeep Wrangler a good start for a DIY? Yes, and here's why. Let's say a 2015 Toyota Corolla. That would be a horrible start for a do-it-yourself repair, because they hardly ever break and you wouldn't learn anything. That's a Jeep. It's going to break, and you're going to learn how to fix things. Not a bad idea. I mean, if you had a 2015 Toyota Corolla, it may not break for 10 years. You wouldn't be learning anything. With that Jeep, I guarantee you, stuff is going to start breaking. So you can learn an awful lot. Just make sure you get the good software for the Jeeps. You know, you could get one of those blue drivers to start out with for $99. Put it on your phone and get you a lot of information on Jeeps. And you can learn a lot, because it'll break, and you'll have to learn how to fix it, and you will learn. Tiago Lucenti says, Scotty, your opinion on aluminum radiators. I'm planning to upgrade my Hummer H2. Yes, very good idea. They're thick. You know, you want a big, thick one, not a thin one, but you upgrade. Aluminum dissipates heat better. And you put a new big one, and I got a lot of customers with old Corvettes, and they throw away the old ones, and they put an aluminum racing one in, and they do work quite well. You pay a little bit more, but they're better made, and they're all aluminum. When you buy a car, you think it's a plastic radiator. Well, the tank on the top and the bottom is plastic, but the middle is all aluminum that dissipates the heat. But of course, if it's all aluminum, it costs more to make, but it dissipates heat even better. So that's a very smart idea on your behalf. XYNet says, can I downshift from drive to neutral with my CVT gearbox when I'm approaching a red light? I find this helps with slowing down and reduces brake pad wear. I'm worried about going into neutral when a car is in motion might reduce the CVT's life. Don't do that with a CVT. CVTs are so efficient. They know what they're doing. You don't want to keep putting it in neutral. You might damage it somehow. It's not a regular geared transmission. It does not have gears in it. And the computers in those are well set up that you don't need to do anything. You're better off just leaving it alone, especially with some of the modern ones like Honda and Toyota. They have what's called a launch gear. They have an actual gear that launches them in first. So you never want to take it in neutral, ever. Just leave it alone. They're pretty well designed, the modern ones. You don't want to mess with it. You don't need to put it in neutral. They don't have the drag like a normal transmission does. Normal automatic transmissions have torque converters that strain a little. CVT transmissions, most of them don't. There's some hybrid ones that are part gear, part torque converters. You never want to put them in neutral with the CVT. Just leave it the way it is. It's perfectly fine. And if you got something like a Nissan with a crappy Jatco CVT, you don't want to do anything except change the fluid every 30,000 miles in baby, because if you start shifting to neutral all the time, it'll probably wear out even faster. I had a customer do that with a Nissan. He thought it would reduce wear. The thing broke even faster. Carson McGraw says, is a 04 Lincoln Aviator a good car under 100,000 miles? It can be. They're big old monstrosities with humongous V8 engines in them, and they get horrendous gas mileage in town and, you know, kind of mixed on a highway because they're so big and heavy. But yeah, they can last. I've had customers buy them used with 50,000, and sometimes they'd have 130, 40, and they still ran okay. There's nothing wrong. You don't want to buy a real high mileage one that's probably ready to be a money pit, but that's the actual mileage on a vehicle that's that old, that's, 19 years old. You get a good price, go ahead and buy one if you want a big monstrosity vehicle. The Dreamer said, Scotty, as a wealthy mechanic, did you invest your money in crypto? No, I didn't put any money on crypto. Here's I'll tell you why I wouldn't advise it. If you put money in cryptocurrency, you are actually betting against the currency of the country you live in. And if the currency of the country you live in goes down, cryptocurrency isn't going to mean anything. People are going to be running around like lunatics. Then you want food and water and shelter and ammunition. That's what you need then. So I don't want to bet against the currency of the country I'm living in. Plus, it's crypto. Well, one day it might all crypto disappear, and then it's the end of all your money. I remember when it was worth $20,000 a Bitcoin, then I saw it go down to $4. Now it's back up again. I mean, and who accepts it for payment? I guess at one point in time, the Beverly Hills Ferrari was the only Ferrari dealership in the world that accepted Bitcoins to buy a Ferrari. So, I don't know. I stay away from that stuff. I want the country to keep going, use our own money, let's leave it at that. Anyways, I talked to a guy who was an expert on cryptocurrency, and he said the biggest use of it is for money laundering, because there's no proof of where it is, so there's drug money in it, there's dirty money from all kinds of stuff, nobody knows where it came from, where it went, so a lot of it's dirty stuff, and I don't want to have anything to do with any dirty money, so I guess if I was a criminal, I'd love it, but I'm not. Luis Alonso 221 says, Scotty, I got a 2000 Honda Accord V6. Runs colder, below medium temperature. I changed the thermostat, fan, relay, blower motor. But it hasn't helped. Any thoughts? You didn't say you changed the temperature sending unit. Change that. Odds are it's reading wrong. If your thermostat's working normal and everything else is working normal, it's only going to read low because it's giving you a false reading. Now, you can figure that out really easy. You can get one of those infrared temperature guns with the laser sight. When I was younger, not even that younger, like 15, 20 years ago. I was still old then, but you had to pay $1,500 for one of those. You get them on Amazon for $20 and they work perfectly fine. See what the actual temperature is in the middle of the core of your radiator. And if it's normal, you're just getting a false reading. I would assume you're getting a false reading. That either your temperature sending unit is wrong or your gauge unit in your dash is giving the wrong reading. Because I see that a lot as they age. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.